Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy Abram, joined as usual by the prolific, maybe too prolific, Tucker Hazelin. We're back fucking lickety split for another episode of Backlog Banter. And here's the situation, ladies and gentlemen. I am here in an unusual location, going to visit my grandparents. So I thought to myself, hey, fuck it. Why would we even do BLB? It's not a weekly show anymore. I played like 2 games, but then the categorical imperative struck because Tucker literally has like a fucking baker's dozen of games to talk about.
Yeah.
And if we left it another week till I was back from Florida,
Eesh.
we would literally have to record. We'd need a fucking around the world in 80 days intermission to talk about the game.
Holy shit. BLB video intermissions. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Hey everyone, take a break, go get your popcorn, go pee, come back, enjoy the rest of the video. It's gonna be great. We should start putting those in every quest episode, every long episode of BLB, every episode of UMP that goes over an hour. People will love that. Longer videos, more views. That's what I always say.
But what if we do it like this? What if we know it's an intermission, but the audience says it? We just freeze the video.
Just for 5 minutes or something.
Like 5 minutes is just fucking frozen. I think that's a great idea.
Oh yeah.
But if you want to tell us your great ideas for BLB content, be sure to join our Discord link as usual. Top of the description or down there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave a comment.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. But you know what? It's hard for me to say fuck it because I am more.
No, you said it multiple times.
That's a great point. Well, mentally or logically, it's been difficult for me to say that because I'm more invested in this week's episode of BLB than I like BLB. I enjoyed doing it. Great time. One of our premiere shows. Everyone loves it. Critically acclaimed. Fantastic. But this week, I'm bringing the big guns. I've played a larger number of games on a title basis this past week than I think maybe any other week, like single 7-day period in my entire life. And I'm excited to share them here because a lot of them are very interesting, like very unique. I believe a couple of good conversations will be had, but also I think we can pare it back again a bit. When you said Baker's Dozen, you were exactly right. From my count, I've played 13 titles this past week. A few of those I can trim back because I haven't finished one yet.
Sure.
One of them is Battle League, which we're going to do a review on our own, so we don't need to do that. And also I played like literally 20 minutes of Axiom Verge on a fucking whim, and then I put it down. So no reason to talk about that.
Okay. And 2 of the games you have, I also have. So we'll make them mine. We'll share your thoughts there. We'll patty cake about it. It'll be fine.
Perfect.
So I suppose you need to go first.
I think I need to go first like 4 times before we let you go.
Yeah, because I have 3 games and 2 of them are yours.
Okay. Let's see. Actually, let's start with what I just finished last night, actually, with my friends. We finished our first playthrough of Supermassive's newest game, The Quarry.
Sure.
The Quarry.
Have you played past games from them?
Yeah, I platinumed Until Dawn in 2020.
All right.
I believe. Good game. I would say I like The Quarry better. I think they're about on the same playing field. I think there's pros and cons in each one's camp, but both of them very good. And as someone who is a prolific horror fan, I'm a prolific gamer, but I'd say I'm actually probably more a prolific horror fan. I like when media plays against horror tropes, and this is 8 camp counselors at a summer camp by a lake, being hunted by a creature in the woods, which happens to be werewolves this time. And the thing that really drew me to this is that not only is it playing on horror tropes, which is what Supermassive is known for with their Dark Pictures anthology and Until Dawn, but it's got a really great cast as well. You've got Ted Raimi, who is of course J. Jonah Jameson's funny little helper guy in the Spider-Man movies, but brother of Sam Raimi.
Of Samuel, yes.
You got Justice Smith. You got Brenda Song. You got Lynn Shay, who's Elise Rayner from the Insidious movies. It's kind of got
Ariel Winter.
I don't know who that is.
She plays Alex Modern Family. She's got like black hair. Younger.
She might not have black hair in the game.
Younger lady. I don't fucking know.
There's plenty of young ladies. But all-star cast, and I think mostly everyone turns in a good performance. I think Justice Smith is a little wooden. Hard to tell if that's like his character that he's going for. He's a little bit of a nerdy listening to podcasts guy, but I thought the game was great. I think that on the whole, such phenomenal character writing, great performances. Lots of fun scenarios that me and my friends got really wrapped up in with, oh God, what are we gonna do here? What are we gonna do here? Drop the car off the crane onto the werewolf to save someone's life, cut off the arm to stop the werewolf infection. Like these moments, like, oh shit, okay, pause the game, talk to everyone, figure out what's going on so we don't fuck this up. We only lost one of our campers, our camp counselors. She got her head bitten off, so a little bit extravagant there. But there are a few issues with the game, and it's hard to tell because this is the only playthrough I've done, if this is the playthrough that we got, or the ending and track that we got that led to these issues. But one of the main issues that I think probably pervades this game as a whole is, so you start off playing as these two characters, you play through 2/3 of the game as the rest of the group, and then you cut back for, I think, chapter 7 out of 10 to follow what the other two have been doing for the entirety of the game. And so you're just sitting watching these characters. They're in jail cells, talking to each other for like an hour straight, which just kills the fucking pace of the game for that entire chapter. Very strange idea, very bad idea. I really wish they hadn't done that. And also we got a kind of a mediocre ending, like it wasn't very exciting. But other than that, I thought this game was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool that you played it with other people. I think that certainly is the optimal way to play a game like this. I don't really have much interest in it because I don't know who I would play it with. So ultimately that undercuts a lot of the appeal. I was listening to Sacred Symbols the other day, and they were talking, Colin in particular was talking about how he doesn't like the game very much. He thinks that it's not only not as good as Until Dawn, but also pretty flawed technically, like graphically does not look very good.
I absolutely
effects
disagree.
And things. Yeah.
I mean, it is, there are bugs. There are glitches. Sometimes you'll pick up a piece of paper and it'll be completely black, and then you shift the camera a little bit and it'll pop in. Sure. But like those moments were relatively few and far between for as expansive of a game this is, and as long as it took us like almost 10.5 hours for our full playthrough. And other than that, I mean, there are lighting glitches. There are sometimes a character, like we had a glitch last night where we're walking around in a basement, we're holding our phone's flashlight, her hand goes, and then it snaps back into position. Like, all right, a couple moments like those, kind of funny moments. But on the whole, PS5 version had very little on the whole technical problems, and I think the game is very visually great. I mean, like environmental detail, texture detail, the motion capture is fantastic. There are a few moments where like someone's mouth is a little too wide or whatever, but I thought the game
problem
looked great. One character had a very wide mouth. Maybe that's just the actual actress, unclear, but she had a very wide mouth and I found it distracting.
Yeah, so my only other question, Tucker, because frankly I don't have much to say with the Quarry.
That's fine.
I have a few Quarry queries for you. The other one I'm curious about. 10.5 hours. And you said your first playthrough of the Quarry. Do you think you're going to put another 10.5 hours in this game?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I platinumed Until Dawn because it was more condensed. Sure. But I do think that it was right for what the game was going for. I mean, I would have absolutely had a few things trimmed down, but I still think like 9 hours for shortening it a little bit for a cooperative feature horror game experience really lets you get attached to the characters, lets you explore all sorts of pathways and all sorts of storylines. And so I thought the game was worth its length. On the whole, it certainly could have been shorter, and I don't think it would have been worse for it. But it's also the kind of game where I'm fine with the playthrough I got. My character died. That was the end of the story. I feel like I learned everything. I'll look up the other endings, look up what happens if you get the rest of the collectibles and stuff. But it doesn't really interest me. The game does have some different options for different playthroughs. When you beat the game for the first time, subsequent playthroughs, you have the ability to rewind 3 times if characters die. So you don't fuck it up, or you can you can choose chapters after you've beaten the game. There's movie mode, which takes away all the interactive parts. You can just sit back and like you get to choose like if a character so you select movie mode and you're like, Abigail is going to be timid in conversations but active in choice scenarios and stuff. So you set up the character's personality, and then that's how they play out for that movie mode. So there's quite a few cool options with the game, but it's not one that I see myself revisiting because 10.5 hours, I've played it with my friends. That's my Quarry experience.
Sure.
I don't need more than that.
Understandable. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
again, you fucking goose.
Oh God, I am a goose, aren't I? Let's talk about the other game that I withheld from last week because I had not finished it, which is the Return of the Oberlin. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, you're a hardcore BLB fan. I know you all are, and you're like, Tucker, shaking your finger at the camera. I know you are. I see you. You're thinking to yourself, Tucker, you played Return of the Oberlin like 3 months ago, and you fucking hated it. What happened to that man? Who are you, and what have you done with Tucker Hazel? And I said to you, I gave it another chance. I, out of the kindness of my heart, saw this game and I'm like, man, I really fucked myself last time I played it. I did not know what I was doing. I set myself down a path that sort of snowballed into confusion. What if I gave the game another shot? And that I did. And I allowed myself a little more leeway into checking on answers online and stuff like that, so I didn't get completely bogged down. And what I found is not one of my favorite games, but it's a game that I have a huge amount of respect for, because Lucas Pope, in creating the Return of the Oberlin, made a game that structurally, visually, and narratively is unlike anything else that I've ever seen in the industry. I'm sure, who knows? There's probably other games that attempt things like this, but the idea of you are piecing together the deaths of literally like 70 people on this ship, and you're going through their memories, and everything is non-linearly told. So when you start on the game, you're going to like the first chapter that you have access to. It's like the end of the whole scenario. So you're like, okay, you have to work backwards from that. And what I found to be both my personal least favorite aspect of the game, like what I was least interested in, but also the game's most interesting aspect, most unique aspect, is attention to detail and requiring attention to detail for you to understand what's going on. So you're going through these memories and you get to walk around in these frozen 3D environments of people getting shot by cannons and being ripped apart by krakens and stuff like that. And you need to go up to like every part of the environment and say, okay, if this person is dressed in this way and has this kind of tattoo, and they were here earlier on, who were they friends with? What is their role on this ship? Where did they disappear? If they disappeared and the ship was here on the map, that means they could have gotten on a boat and gone to this island, so maybe they're alive over there. Like, there's so much granularity, and you need to be paying attention to everything, and everything connects everywhere else. It is a really fascinating game from a design standpoint that I'm really impressed with.
But so that's what, yeah. But what I'm interested here, I don't give a fuck about the review of the Oberlin or whatever.
Return of it.
What I care about is the Tucker Hazel narrative.
Sure.
Through line here, because the last I heard about the Return of the Oberlin, there was one of the many great Discord clashes of all time.
Yes. Good God.
Between you and I believe it was Daphne.
Yes.
Usually these are between you and Daphne, so yes, it's a safe guess.
Yeah.
And which Daphne proclaimed you were playing the game wrong.
Yes.
And you had your perspective on that claim. When you come back here, you beat the game. Were you playing the game wrong? I don't fucking know how to ask this question. You know what I'm trying to get at. What's the deal?
Yes and no. Yeah, I think no, because now that I know how the game works, I played it just about the same way, and it was not a problem for me because I knew what to look for. I had forgotten most of what I discovered the first time around. I completely restarted the game. But I did have I remember that the captain's wife died, and I knew a few things that I could ground myself in. And I also knew to look for different ways that people are dressing and use the ship's manifest and the crew drawing and stuff like that. But I also say yes, because when I was playing through it the first time, I absolutely overwhelmed myself with information in a way that made it really hard to approach the game from a completely blind perspective. Going into the game and going through all the memories and then being like, where the fuck do I go next? This game gives you basically no direction. The only thing it does is if you get 3 fates correct, it'll say, okay, these 3 are correct. But if you get 2 correct and you get a third one wrong, it doesn't tell you anything about them. So there's a very small amount of hand holding, but I do think that the game has a problem with, for first-time players, leading you along in a way that I feel is antithetical to experiencing the game for a first-time player. But if you are experienced, if you do know what to look for and understand the game structure, I don't think it's a problem. But it absolutely was for me when I went into it. No one had told me not to do this. No one had told me, oh, make sure you find out a couple things early on so you're not overwhelmed with information later in the game. It's a balancing act that I think could pretty easily be remedied with some sort of in-game hint system, or hey, block it off until you've got 5 fates done or something like that, or even like a mode where those options are allowed. But I didn't have those issues with the game on my second playthrough, because I knew not to do that, or I knew that this was not going to be a problem, or I had some information to ground myself in. So I don't know, complicated answer, but complicated game. So I think it's fair.
Sure. What else do you want to tell me about this game?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I recommend it. I think that's the interesting thing. Is I think it's a fascinating game. I think it's a really impressive and unique game. But while I enjoyed it because I was impressed by its artistic merit and unique qualities, I think that it's really antithetical to how most games are played, with progression and linearity and things like that. Like, this game goes fucking down into the ground where other games go right. And so I feel like it's really hard to say, hey, give this game a try to people, because people are going to get lost, like I did, frankly. And I feel like that'll be a huge turnoff to people.
Just play games with guides. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
That's my general perspective on things. Just play games with guides.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Me using a guide on this playthrough absolutely helped my experience, because I didn't get stuck. I didn't get frustrated. But I don't think this game should be played with a guide. Like, if you really want to get the experience of it, because if you get a guide, there's no puzzles. There's nothing. Your internal information is the game, is what you are exploring and figuring out, like, details. If you look up what's this person's name, that's it. Like, that's the information given to you. You no longer have to explore. You no longer have to do anything.
I see.
So yeah, I probably made the game like less interesting to myself, but also I think that for me was outweighed by, I got to see the full story. I got to understand the game's mechanics. I got to like see, I missed that. I didn't realize I needed to look at that. That's pretty cool that that's in there. Like, using the guide certainly helped me, but this game is definitely not designed to be played with a guide.
Okay.
It's very interesting, very unique.
Roll on,
pal. I shall. I'll do one more that I know you haven't played.
Okay.
And then we'll share one if I'm correct. Next up, we're starting the main crux of this episode, which is that in this past week, because it released in this past week, I've been given access to the all new PlayStation Plus premium tier. Right. I fucking splurged for it. And boy did I splurge, and boy has it been worth it for me, because I played an obscene amount of games on this, and it has introduced me to a whole new corner of PlayStation IPs and creativity that I was not particularly familiar with before. So let's start with maybe one of my new like top 75 games of all time, because that's a big number, doesn't sound impressive, but Ape Escape for PS1. What a fucking weird game. Hold on.
This is a little bit of classic BLB comedy here.
I've got Ape Escape on the list, PSP.
Is that a remake?
Yes, it is. Okay. And that was the interesting thing. When I started this game and I watched the opening cutscene and I go into the first level, I'm like, yeah, I know the monkey's going to be on this little pillar. And I know that like the tree is over there. Oh, Ape Escape on the Loose is a PSP remake of the first game. And that's kind of how I felt playing Kirby's Dream Land after having played Kirby's Nightmare in Dreamland, which I didn't realize was a remake when I played it originally. I'm like, hold the fuck up. I feel like I recognize these levels. But I didn't play almost any of this. I probably played like the first level. And now I don't need to, because I played the PS1 version, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I mean, this game is really impressive in my opinion, because it is not only very important to game history as the first ever game to require dual analog control, like first ever, and that's crazy. But even with that, I think that this game's controls and structure and things hold up remarkably well. I mean, I had basically no problems after adapting to things in the first 30 minutes with just breezing through the game, catching monkeys, going for collectibles, fucking around the world. I had a really great time with Ape Escape, and I'm really excited to try the rest of this series, because I think for me the only thing really holding this game back is that it's an relatively early PS1 game, and it looks kind of janky, and there's textures going blah, blah, blah in the background, and the characters have really, really poor voice acting and writing.
Yeah.
Like, it's corny as fuck, and the villain is not intimidating at all. He just sounds like a white guy. Like the cheese and jank of early PS1 are absolutely there.
Yeah.
But without that, I really do think this would probably be one of my like favorite 3D platformer collectathon games.
So there's the Ape Escape 1 and Ape Escape 2 are Ape Escape is Ape Escape 2 a PS2 game?
Yeah, 2 and 3 are PS2 games.
And then that's all there is. And then the remake.
Well, yeah, and then there's some spin-offs. A lot of spin-offs that are Japan exclusive.
Oh, okay.
Only a few. I think there's a party game for PS2. But I don't know. I haven't played any of those.
Cool. What else do you want to tell me about Ape Escape? Because frankly, I don't have. I booted it up. I bought the PS. I regret buying this PS collection. Frankly, not because I think it's a bad service. I actually think it's a much better service than I thought it was going to be. But I just, at a certain point, just because the service is good doesn't mean I need it. And that's where it's how I feel about a lot of these movie streaming services I have. The only reason I still have HBO Max right now is I keep fucking forgetting to cancel it. Not because it's in a bad service, but because, well, I'm already using X, Y, and Z, right? So that's kind of, the reason I bought the PS Plus collection is because I want to play Death Stranding Director's Cut, and I don't want to spend $50 on it.
Yes. So you are saving money if you end up playing that.
Yeah,
but who knows?
I'm saving money, but like, do I really need this service? It's really just to get this one game, which because I'm leaving tomorrow, I didn't even bother fucking starting Death Stranding. It doesn't make sense. But I played Ape Escape for like literally 5 minutes. Like I don't have the bandwidth right now to try to figure out these fucking controls, and I don't want to. What else about Ape Escape to you is so timeless and worth experiencing now?
The interesting thing is structurally, it's not that different from other collectathon 3D platformers.
Sure.
Dexter, Banjo-Kazooie, Mario 64. It doesn't have that much different in terms of structure, as I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think what gives it the edge of kind of just like wackiness is that you're not grabbing a star that's sitting in the environment. You're chasing out a monkey who will fight fucking back at you. And the monkeys, not all of them, but a good amount of them, there's a variety in how they will attack you, how they will run away if you sneak up to them, if they're wearing goggles, if they've got a gun, if they're hopping a UFO. There's all sorts of different ways that it's not just completing the challenge to get there. Then you have to deal with approaching different monkeys in different ways in order to actually get the star, in order to get the collectible. And also each of the monkeys do have different personalities. Of course, it's as surface level as you can get, but you get something called the monkey radar, which you can swing around the environment and it'll tell you which direction a monkey is, which is very useful because I wish that some other collectathons would have this, like, okay, you make sure you don't miss anything, you know which general direction to go. But if you're close enough to the monkey, you can press L2 and you will go into that monkey's vision and you can see where they are, what they're doing on their own, like sitting or fucking dealing with a little thing in their hands. It'll tell you their name, it'll tell you their stats, and it'll tell you a random fun fact about them, like likes eating pizza upside down, likes driving cars very slow, and it's like entirely superfluous.
Right.
But it gives collectibles like a really interesting, unique reason to be in the game. And on top of that, I think that the way that it contextualizes like power-ups and upgrading your moveset through the gadgets that you unlock across the course of the game are really fun and unique. At a certain point, you unlock an RC car, which you click in the right stick, it spawns a little RC car next to you, and you control Spike, who's your main character, and the RC car separately with the 2 joysticks. So you run Spike around, you run your little RC car around, your RC car steps on a button on the other side of the cage, then Spike can go here, and you can hit an enemy with Spike so that the RC car can keep going. Like, there's a really interesting mesh of these power-ups and techniques that I thought to be really, really fun. And that's the kind of fun with like Banjo-Kazooie and upgrading the moveset and feeling like the levels are designed around wildly different mechanics that I found to be really compelling and makes me feel like this is steps above Mario 64, which I believe this is the year before Mario 64, which is really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I think this franchise is really excellent, really unique. There's mini games that you unlock across the course of the game that they're very superfluous, but it's a little skiing racing game. It's a little boxing mini game with the monkeys going like this. It has a ton of charm, and it's just very unique, frankly.
Did it ever feel overly gimmicky because it's a vehicle for DualShock?
No,
No.
not necessarily. I mean, I personally think the controls work very well.
Cool.
They are obviously designed for dual log and control. So you like the monkey's running away. If you are pressing the stick this way, you can swing the net around you because you have 360 control.
Yeah.
And the only thing that like sort of leads to is occasionally janky camera, but I would say less janky than like Mario 64, which I had much bigger problems with the camera, because in this you have a first person mode that is very useful for firing off your slingshot, for shooting things when you're in a tank or whatever. And you have a center the camera behind your guy button, which I just, found myself clicking at like every few seconds to make sure that the camera was following me properly. But yeah,
Cool.
I think what just blew me away was how well it held up and how creative it felt in a genre that I feel like I've experienced quite a bit of.
Nice.
Okay, throw me one of yours. Is it one of the ones that we have shared, I guess.
Shared?
Or,
sure.
Do you want to do your one that we don't, or?
No, fucking save it.
Okay, we'll keep them on their toes.
Tuck on the balls a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Pardon my language. Let's talk about a game that we talked about last week, but we'll talk about it again because now you've beaten it, and that's TMNT Shredder's Revenge.
It's true.
I did my second playthrough with you and Abby. And actually, the one comment we're going to read out on BLB this week is from Abby. I asked him to write a little ditty for us about his thoughts on the game here.
And we're just going to do that right here, right now?
Yeah.
We'll
fucking throw it in right here.
Submissions.
Abby wrote, I finished a playthrough of TMNT Shredder's Revenge with Abram and Tucker. Previously, my experience in the beat-em-up genre has come from Battletoads, both the original and the reboot, and some of the older TMNT beat-em-up games. Shredder's Revenge comes very close to being the perfect modern beat-em-up. The thing that stood out to me most were the detailed backdrops, which even had interactive elements. My favorite level would have to be the first one, as the different TV sets were super creative. However, each stage has its own unique elements, making it tough to choose a clear favorite. The boss fights varied in quality, but most of the animations were awesome. The animations as a whole are very detailed in this game. When playing as Donatello, I particularly liked his special, which created a purple energy sphere around him. The taunts are also great, with each character having one that suits them perfectly. Overall, this is a great example of how to make a modern beat 'em up, and I had a ton of fun playing it with you guys. And Abby, god damn it, we had a ton of fun playing with you too. Because Tucker, I loved this game in my first playthrough, and my kind of fucking around in other stages on my own. Loved it even more in co-op. I think this game is fucking brilliant in co-op.
Yeah.
Now I can imagine that it becomes something of a clusterfuck with 6 people on the screen.
I can't even imagine. Right. And I think that might be like my only major problem with it. Of course, it's a future projection major problem.
Yeah.
That like I when we were playing 3 people, I lost my character in the fray a number of times, and maybe I'm just fucking tiny brained. But I was playing Master Fucker, what's his name, Splinter, and sometimes I'd be like, oh shit, I thought I was over here, but I'm actually over there. There's no way that that's better when you have all 6 players on the screen.
No, I don't think so, but I think that chaos is really fun. And I think the game already has a perfect difficulty curve. I didn't have any issues with it myself, but I played on chill myself, playing on okay, which is like the regular difficulty. We rinsed the game. We easily, I think, we could have done it on hard and probably had a more commensurate challenge. And as you're saying, I think it'd be interesting because we are, well, we'll see if we actually do it. But if we get a big group together and we play, it'd be curious to check it out. But no, I maintain that this game is fucking awesome. I appreciated a lot of the visual detail more on the second playthrough. I think I better appreciated just the general environmental variety that there is here.
Yeah.
And this game is just so excellent in being contained. It is a perfect scope for what it is, and I think it just executes on that fucking flawlessly.
Yeah, no, I was not, I wasn't surprised by how much fun I had, because I think maybe the reason that this isn't blowing my mind like it is with other people is I did somewhat recently play Streets of Rage 4, and then last year I played Streets of Rage, and the year before that I played some of the Battletoads new game, reboot, whatever it is. And for me, beat 'em ups feel largely the same. I like this game for me didn't do almost anything that I didn't get out of Streets of Rage 4. Except for the fact that I think there is better environments of variety. I think that might be my favorite aspect of the game is going to the TV station and the zoo and the different kinds of sewers, like all sorts of stuff. But I expected great animation. I got great animation. I expected detailed backgrounds. I got detailed backgrounds. The Turtles world and characters don't do anything for me
Yeah.
on like a very subjective level, but they look great, got a lot of personality. There is variety in the characters. I played as fucking one of them. I don't know their names. One of them when I was playing by myself, and then I played Master Shader when I was doing the co-op. But yeah, no, I really had fun with the game. It just I don't think it sticks with me. Beat 'em up genre is like fuck around with a friend for 2 hours and then just it leaves my mind. So like that's a very subjective thing.
No, I think that's fair, and I think probably the reason it doesn't go even higher for you is you don't give a shit about the turtles, frankly, because
sure. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that you're right. As far as beat 'em ups go, it's a beat 'em up, right?
Yeah,
and it's really good.
I think the thing is, I've never played a bad beat 'em up,
sure.
So I don't know how to compare this to why this is excellent, because the other ones I've played have been excellent.
Yeah, but I think what it comes down to is it nails those fundamentals super well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Even though you and I have played some of these games more recently, modern beat 'em ups are few and far between, especially at this level of precision and its attention to detail and its return to the sort of 90s, golden age of the genre. So that's all excellent. It feels great to play. But I really think that it is the sort of thing where the IP takes it up that final notch.
Sure.
And in that sense, I don't really think it's that different than like the added enjoyment. Now, obviously, people disagree with the quality of this game, but the added enjoyment I find in Jedi Fallen Order, because I fucking love Star Wars, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And I think that applies here, to where if you love that IP, the love,
it shows through.
It shows through because Tribute Games loves this IP too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
and it's the sort of thing like when I'm playing Lego Star Wars, even though I have issues with that game, I recognize so clearly that Traveler's Tales loves this IP the way I love it. And so I think that's what's resonating with people to bring it to the highest echelons, on top of it just being really fucking good mechanically. So
no, absolutely. I mean, I'm walking through these environments. I'm saving a guy from a door and collecting his journals. And I have no idea who this is. The game doesn't like really give you a chance because it's a fucking NPC. So they're in the background. It doesn't really matter. But like the world of turtles, I think this game expects you to have some familiarity with things. So it's exciting when you save a character or a boss shows up that you was from a fucking old episode or whatever. Like, and then to me, that was all just beat 'em up gobbledygook. Like I could see myself fighting this big hulky character in another game. Like, but I know that it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know that everything here is drawn from the source material. I recognize, like, on a top level, I know that there's love put into this. I just can't pick up on it.
No, I think that's totally fair. I mean, even to an extent, that's how I felt playing Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And I love my love of Marvel is far more than your love of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is non-existent, right?
Yes.
But even still, I'm like, I'm not all the way there to fully appreciate what Crystal Dynamics. No.
Yes. No. IDOS.
That's
yes. Yeah. No. Crystal did fucking Avengers.
Yeah. But you know what I mean. So, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, great game, and fucking awesome Raekwon Ghostface Killer track. This means nothing to you, but they.
I don't know what that means.
Basically,
that sounds like what people feel like when I start talking about Pokemon.
Sure. Obviously,
Raekwon Bongle Dunkle.
Obviously, TMNT game takes place in New York. Tribute Games Dotemu got Ghostface Killer and Raekwon, who are fucking
Scream,
who are New York hip hop legends, to do a track for this game. And as we saw,
God, they're still getting work.
As we saw in the limited run game showcase, teaming up with Pizza Hut to deliver pizzas, right?
Yeah.
It's just things like this that just demonstrate like it took it
to the next level.
This is a level of fandom that you don't even often see, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
This is a remarkable game, and it was my second favorite game of the year until we'll talk about it.
Next up, we'll do. All right, I got a lot of fun games to talk about.
But some of these I can talk about. Like, fucking talk about Ikaruga. I'm really curious because you have said nothing about this one.
No, actually, let's end on the one you were about to mention earlier. But I want to do Ikaruga Second Blast. Who the fuck knows why? I just nailed it. Fucking with you, holding your balls a little long. But also because I didn't play that game on PS Plus Premium. I still want to continue my PS Plus Premium.
Sure, where you played Shredder's Revenge.
Well, I let you insert your fucking.
You know what you let me insert.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Intelligent Cube.
I have no fucking clue what this is.
This is a really interesting game. And another continuation, as well, I will continue to talk about through the next like fucking 4 or 5 games, whatever. Another example of just a forgotten one-off Sony IP.
Yeah.
And they gave a creator an idea, they gave them the money to make it, and boom, here it is. It fucking exists, and no one gives a shit about it anymore. But it's very accessible through PS Plus Premium. This is a PS1 puzzle game where you play as a little guy on a field of blocks with blocks that are rolling down towards you. And you need to place a marker on the ground, and as a block rolls on top of it, you press X again, and it clears that block. And there are blocks you don't want to clear because they need to keep going and roll off the edge. And there are blocks that are green that you can clear the block, and then it'll give you the option to set off a bomb and clear off 9 blocks around it. And it's a really interesting puzzle game because you're always moving around. The field's always moving towards you. It's like Tetris if you were a little guy on the ground in Tetris and the blocks were falling at you, and you're about to get killed if you didn't clear them. So not only is it really dynamic and fun and very unique in terms of this kind of puzzle game I've never seen done before, but it also has a really interesting personality, I would say, because you've got this announcer like saying perfect and excellent at you the whole time, which kind of sounds like fighting game stuff, but like, you know,
Sure.
you don't hear that in puzzle games very often. And it's got this epic sweeping orchestral score that sounds like it should be behind a fucking Lord of the Rings movie. And you're playing these levels in this pounding epic music is playing this deep guy with a deep voice is yelling at you as you do this thing. It's like, who the fuck came up with this? It's so weird, it's so unique. I had a great time with it, but it's way too fucking hard for me, man. There's no like, there is an easing you into this game as there are 8 levels, I believe, in the game, which are randomized. Like when blocks start rolling at you, they can be one of fucking 200 different combinations. Okay. So like you need to like think on your toes. But for someone who was playing it for the first time, I got to the middle of level 6, but then the game just got too fucking hard for me. And like you need to clear the box in order to continue, and I just fucking couldn't. With even with heavy use of rewind, which PS Plus Premium, this is one of the new big things of PS Plus Premium.
I didn't know that.
PS1 games, maybe PS2 games as well, have rewind, and you can just boop, rewind. It exactly the fucking same as NSO. And it was really useful for this game until it got too fucking hard for me. And I still couldn't do it even with rewind. But I really love this game.
So this isn't just like Luminous. You boot up the game and you're just fucking rolling for a score. It's like level based.
Yeah, well, it is level based. It's randomized, so it's ostensibly the same as other puzzle games, but it ramps up in difficulty, I think, pretty nicely for those first 6 levels. But then you hit the middle of level 6, and it's just like, all right, fuck you. Like you know the game by now. Yeah. Also, the game's presuming that you've lost quite a few times and replayed the first levels a few times, and like, which I hadn't done because I didn't use rewind. So like I stuck myself in this corner, but in terms of being like a brain teaser, spatial reasoning, blocks rolling towards you and moving over the things. So you know, okay, if I'm gonna set off the bomb here, I want to make sure that there's no black blocks in the group. So like I think it's a really interesting and unique game. And another example of like PS1 era, and I would say PS3 era Sony as well. Just like, hey, we have a creator with this idea. We'll give them the money. We'll publish this game. It'll be fun.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you'll ever give it a try, but it certainly is very interesting. Another one of those kind of ideas is a game called Echochrome, which is a game that actually kind of has like a franchise. Because there's a sequel to it, and
is this the Echo the Dolphin sequel?
No, it's a Sega series. Echochrome is a PS3 downloadable game that uses, I can't remember the artist's name, but you know the artist that like does like upside down staircases and people like walking on fucking walls and like perspective and shit. It uses
Pablo Picasso.
No. It uses that art style concept of using perspective and things being able to go on walls and perspective blocking other things to do a puzzle game. It's more of just like an experience these little worlds game in order to get your little guy to the end of the level, in which you manipulate the world around like a Captain Toad or something like that, and you're trying to get a little mannequin from one end of the stage to a bunch of different other points in the stage. And you can do a couple interesting things. You can use perspective to make it look like a bit of the level is touching another level, and then your guy can walk from this to the other, even if they're like this far apart in like the physical reality. It's about perspective. You can, if there's a hole in the ground, if you block it with something in the middle of your view, it no longer exists because you can't see it. You can drop through a hole and turn the level so it catches your guy on something that's somewhere else. It's really unique in that, but it doesn't like that. That is its idea, and I think the idea is enough to warrant its existence and its unique art style and its nice soundtrack and stuff like that. But it's not something I found myself wanting to get super into because it fucking hurt my brain. Like I didn't want to deal with figuring out this perspective puzzle. Like it just little too tough for me. But I have another one of these games that I have a lot of respect for. It's so unique, unique.
Yeah, I don't even know what to ask you about this game. So
you don't need to. I feel like I talked about it.
I actually have one other game to talk about, so I'm going to interject it here.
Okay.
Because this is a game that I meant to talk about a couple weeks ago, but then I forgot, and then I since played it again yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to you about F1 2021.
Oh yeah.
A complete non sequitur, probably the only sports racing game of a simulation genre that we'll ever talk about on this program.
Yeah. Though we might play a Forza Motorsport when it comes out.
That's true. So F1 2021. Here's the situation, right? I have since become a little bit of a Formula One fan because my sister, fucking enormous Formula One fan. Mm-hmm. My parents got into it. My whole family watches it. So the last couple times I've been home, I've watched Formula One with them.
Yeah.
And so I happened to notice that on Game Pass Ultimate, because the EA stuff is bundled into that, Formula One 2021 is available as part of Game Pass. Sure. So I downloaded it because I wanted to play it with Laurel, my sister, and I was just curious because I don't play games like this. There's a period of time where I used to go over and visit my cousin, and this is a true story. When we weren't playing Sonic 06 together, we'd be playing Madden. But really, that
bright spots of the early 2000s.
That's about as far as my understanding of the EA Sports genre went. Right.
Yeah.
So playing F1 2021 was really a fascinating exercise in seeing how the majority of people play video games.
Sure.
Because these sim games are fucking enormous, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of mainstream people who aren't us, this is the cultural understanding of what video games are.
Sure.
And I find that to be really compelling. I also found F1 2021 to be incredibly, incredibly confusing.
Sure.
And I'm not even just talking mechanically. I'm talking about the construction of the package. The UI is so weird because this game ostensibly if you play F1, you play F1, and you're going to keep playing F1. This is your game, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so it is so fucking granular in what you can choose, in how you can tweak controls, tweak track behaviors, tweak the other AI, play with
different... is track behavior mean?
I'm like, you can fucking change. I honestly, Tucker Hazel, I can't even really tell you, but you can change the racing line. You can change like
what's a racing line?
The racing line basically is like how you should go around corners and around turns. Because because in real life racing, there is a line you want to follow. You're using like 15, but that's the thing. You're not using the whole track. You're using like 15% of the track.
Sure.
And when you watch,
because it's most efficient to go around the inside.
Right. Yeah. And like when you watch these guys,
I watched Rush a couple weeks ago.
Great. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Ron Howard movie. Shout out.
Shout out. It's so granular, right? And there's so many different campaigns and customizations. Like this is a fucking living, breathing entity. Because also this being licensed has all of the guys in it. So we go from watching Max Verstappen win in F1.
I love him.
My sister does. You go from watching Max Verstappen win in Montreal to booting up F1 2021, and you're in Bahrain racing Max Verstappen again, right? These are the actual, and obviously that's something that most people take for granted when they play a game like this. But for me, it's so fascinating to see how the line between real world F1 and digital F1 is basically overlapping, which I find to be very compelling.
Isn't that all right?
Yeah.
I don't fucking play them. But isn't that the same with all the other like sim sports games?
Yeah, that
Madden and MLB and
yeah,
NBA and
totally.
stuff like that.
But I never really, until actually playing one in a more deliberate way, I never really realized that, yeah, there's a real interesting appeal to this not being the video game stand-in. So the Belgian guys are
Sure.
some fucking random Belgian racer. It's Max
Yeah,
Verstappen, right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting. And this game is really, really fascinating. But I don't have the interest to dedicate the amount of time I would need to play the game at a higher level.
Yes.
Because then I start playing and I literally can't fucking play this game.
Mhm.
Laurel and I turn the control, we turn on all of the assists on all of everything. So basically, you only have to worry about braking and accelerating
Yes.
and turning.
Yeah.
I still can't do it. But there is so much more that goes into it when you start layering in gear shifting and DRS opens and all kinds of stuff. Like this game gets super, super complex.
Yeah.
But then in turn, Tucker, you can put together in your home a fucking rig to play this game in, and you can buy a drive system, which is what real F1 racers use to control their vehicles. You can buy one, but it's not a steering wheel. It looks basically like an Atari. Is a Lynx or a Jaguar one of the 9 buttons on the front, like the keypad? Doesn't matter. It's
a fucking ColecoVision.
No. It's an Atari. It doesn't matter. Like it's just fucking. It basically it's like a Nintendo Switch. It's basically no. You know what? It's like a fucking. It doesn't matter. It's a bit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is, you can buy one of these, Tucker, that costs for your PlayStation 4 or 5, $2,000. $2,000. So my point in this, Tucker,
Mamma mia,
is not that frankly I have a lot of thoughts on the game because I don't really understand how to play it, and frankly, the fun of F1 is watching these dudes who are barely older than us going 200 miles an hour, racing like madmen. I can't do that when I play the game, so I'd much rather just.
You can't drive a car.
No, I can't. I don't even have a driver's license. So I'd rather watch F1 once a week than play this game. But what I realized, we talk sometimes in Summer Game Fest, right? But there are so many video games, right?
Yeah.
But it's when you step into one of these games that is so far outside of our wheelhouse. So in F1 2021, where you realize just the scope of this fucking industry. Because if you're the type of MF who is spending $2,000 on a drive system for your PlayStation, I don't know. And my dad asked me that question too. I'm like, I have no fucking idea. But it goes to show,
asking the hard-hitting questions, Christian Bitter.
It goes to show the scope of our industry. So while I have basically no interest in playing F1 anymore, I found it really fascinating to try out the game.
Yeah, sure. And I think that kind of sentiment extends to why I'm so adamantly experimental with my gameplay. Is I love, and I might even try a game like F1 or more likely something like Gran Turismo or Forza.
More likely,
where I am not going to get into those games, but being able to understand like the conceptually what you're talking about of why people find this entertaining and stuff like that. Like that's why I'm always trying new genres, even if I do not give a fuck about them and will not stick around to them. But I like trying new things. So you're on the right track, buddy boy. You'll get there eventually. You start. Okay, can we switch over to something quite similar? Which, of course, if you watch BLB, of course, you know that's not true at all. I like doing one of these inverted reverse psychology segues.
Well, that's just psychology then.
Today, we're going to be talking about Jumping Flash. Jumping Flash is another PS1 exclusive Sony game, which is a first-person 3D platform. Oh, wait, no. This is the game that came out before Mario 64. My bad. Ape Escape was not. That was
because
97.
Well, okay. I knew that was wrong, and here's why. Because the DualShock came out after Star Fox 64. Because Star Fox 64 was the first to introduce the Rumble Pack.
And Mario 64 was the first game on the NC. Yeah, we found it. All right, I fucked up. Yeah, 99. Years after.
I accept your apology.
But Jumping Flash came out in 1995, a year before Super Mario 64, and was one of the first examples of 3D environments and 3D platforming in a video game. And instead of using the shadow underneath Mario and analog control to judge distance in a video game, which is, of course, one of the notorious things about early 3D platforming, they decided to opt for first-person view in 3D platforming, which means that you jump and you jump again, you got a double jump, and your camera shifts downward to see where you're going to land. You play as this big fucking robot rabbit named Robbit. And Robbit has to go around and collect jet pods, which are robotic carrots. And they're in these fucking weird ass environments with weird ass animals and giraffes with lasers on their heads, and you're fighting this guy named Baron Aloha, who has gone around to different planets and uses giant octopus-looking guys to suck cities out of the ground and float them in space. And why?
Yeah,
Unfucking clear. Unfucking clear. But this game is not very good, but it is pretty impressive and influential. Sure. It is very unique visually in terms of these little characters that you're fucking interacting with, which, you know, they're just enemies. Like, you jump on them once or you shoot them with your little blaster and they die. Like, there's not a ton of gameplay engagement, but in terms of spending 2 hours hopping around in first person in these weird environments, finding the 4 jet pod carrots in each level, heading to the exit, finding a boss, 1 per world, 6 worlds. I had a good time with it for what it is. It's not a game that I recommend. I think watching some gameplay of it online, you'll get the general gist. But I'm glad that I played it.
2 hours to beat this game, you said?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, hot diggity dog. I'm gonna have to try it out.
Don't play Jumping Flash.
I'm kidding, I'm not gonna play Jumping
Flash. Yeah, but another one of those corners of Sony's history that is just completely forgotten. There was a sequel to this game on PS1, which is not available through PS1 PS Premium, which, by the way, is my biggest problem with this service, is that it's pretty lacking in some of the older games, especially. But I do have pretty good confidence that we will get additions to this lineup.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, actually, because that was kind of my feeling too. Like, clicking into the PS Classic section, it's like, oh, this is it.
What PS1, PSP, and PS2, which are big libraries.
And PSP is what, 1 game?
Ascension, I think.
You can play God of War Ascension on there?
Yeah.
But
there's a couple games.
But basically, my point is, like, I think we ought like in a month do a discussion about PS Plus and see if it's changed at all. See if Sony's adopting. Well, I mean, I would assume that they are going to adopt a monthly thing, right? Because that's what PS Plus refreshes on. So it'll be really fascinating. What is that? It's usually the 5th that those games come out. It'll be fascinating to see how many games are added. Like, if we could conceivably, Tucker, get like 10 games added to the service a month.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Just a lot, and that would be really cool. Plenty of games I'm still interested to play on here, which is certainly we can do a separate discussion about PS Plus Premium. All right, let's continue.
Just put Metal Gear Solid on there, please.
Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say last game in this PS Plus Rock Block was not true. There's still 3 more.
Holy fuck!
And then 2 more other games after that.
Okay, that's fine. I don't have to go to the MF dentist for an hour 45.
Well, you didn't need to delay that. All right. Let's talk about Echochrome.
I hate that. Here's the thing. I told you it was a terrible name on Discord, but I have muttered Kokoroko to myself. Probably
no. Coco Recho.
Coco Rico.
Coco Recho, I believe.
Now I don't like it anymore. When I thought it was Loco Roco Coco Rico, I would just mutter that to myself sometimes. Like, that maybe that's okay name.
But Echochrome Kokoreko is the only Echochrome spinoff. There are 3 games in the Echochrome franchise.
On what platforms?
What do you mean?
What platforms are those games on? Are those
So Echochrome 1 and 2, the main games in the
PSP
series are PSP games. I have them both on PSP. I've played them both on PSP. I love those games. I think they're fantastic. There are remasters of those games available on PS4 and PS Plus Premium. So if you do want to try those games, remastered versions are available.
Those actually want to play.
I have not played them on console. I would be a little bit yes.
You're a fucking liar and a hack, because we played one together at your house.
Oh, we played for like 5 minutes. That's not what
I mean. That was the most important 5 minutes of my life.
I never spent dedicated time with them. Sure. The reason I am reticent to is I do think that the handheld nature of Echochrome, and you are tilting the world in that might get a little bit visually wonky on a big TV if you're not able to shift it in your hands and stuff like that. But who the fuck knows? I am projecting it. But Kokoreko, Rico, if you're
the third one though, what platform is the third one on?
It is a PS3 downloadable game, a PSN game from PS3 that is not really a game in the traditional sense. It was $5 when it released. And even in Loco-Roco, you do not control the Loco-Rocos. You control the world around them, and you're bouncing around and stuff. But in this, you control the Kokoreko, which is a little butterfly that you fly around the stage, and you hammer the circle button to get the Loco-Roco to follow you. And you're getting the Loco-Roco to follow you, go through this giant interconnected map, fall down this thing, try to wake up other Loco-Rocos so you can get a bunch of them to unlock the gate to defeat the boss. It is one stage. It is a huge interconnected map that you can go around at any point that you want. And that's basically it. Sure. It is ostensibly an interactive screensaver because the world and the Loco-Rocos you wake up still operate without you. They hop around, they go down a waterfall, they swing off the thing, they babble with each other, but you are just guiding them loosely to get to the end of the game. So if you're playing this game like, I want to get all the Loco-Roco, I want to beat the boss as quickly as possible, it's going to be pretty frustrating because they don't really listen to you. They kind of just bounce around. You're likely guiding them. But if you're just fucking around with it as having this, I like the music of Loco-Roco quite a bit. Some people find it grating. Having this music going on, watching Loco-Roco bounce around, like happy, funny, colorful little world. If you're doing it like that, that's what this game is designed for. It is a $5 downloadable interactive screensaver. But it doesn't work as a game, which is why I think it's really interesting.
When you say interactive screensaver, do you mean that like you can have it as an actual
no,
you can't have it like on your cross media bar?
I don't like to show up in the background.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
As far as I know. I mean, maybe that was a thing in the PS3.
Yeah.
It's not here because you're streaming it because it's a PS3 game and they only stream. But by the way, the streaming has been fantastic. I've played numerous PS3 games, no problems with the streaming.
Same here.
But I find this really interesting because it's like the only time they ever attempted to expand the Loco-Roco IP.
Yeah, sure.
And they just kind of made like an interesting little funny thing. And I really respect and enjoy it for that. And I'm again, this is the mantra of this episode. Back then, Sony was willing to give a team some money to make a funny little Loco-Roco thing and put it out for $5 on the PS Network. But we don't really get those anymore.
Hey, with your next one.
Oh, okay. I thought you might maybe questions, but no. The other PS3 game that I played this past week through PS Plus Premium was another downloadable game called Rain. Have you heard about Rain? Do you know about this game?
No, nothing about it.
So Rain.
Who's the developer?
I believe it's a Studio Japan.
Okay.
Japan
cool.
Studio. Sorry, Japan Studio. Yeah, Japan Studio is kind of the fucking king of this episode because they did Ape Escape, Echochrome, Loco-Roco, Patapon, Gravity Rush, Brain, Puppeteer, Tokyo Jungle. Like they are probably my favorite Sony developer in terms of creativity. They did, and helped with Demon Souls, and helped with Shadow of the Colossus, and they made Knack. But very prolific. They are dead now. Fucking, I will never forgive you, Sony.
Asobu is out of their ashes, which is not equal, but I like Asobu a lot. So
well, let's just see what they do. I want more games before I
fucking
really
make an Astrobot game. It's not that hard.
You already did it a couple times. But, so Rain is it's a puzzle platformer in which you control a little boy who is invisible. And the only way you can see your character is when it's raining and the rain is falling on their head. Cool. And that shows them up to you. But if you step underneath a little fucking overhang and there's no rain falling on you, you turn completely invisible. You can see your footprints on the ground, so it's not like you can't tell where your character is at all. But you are controlling this little boy through this like European-inspired, very dark, dreary town where it's always raining. And you're running away from all sorts of different invisible monsters. There's this big fucking bumbly guy with a long finger called the Unknown who always chasing you around and fucking slashing at you. There's like these dogs, there's these little flea looking guys. They're always trying to get you. And you're going through all these different environments. The only like people in this world are you and a little girl who is also invisible. So eventually you meet up, you work together, you're pushing the block over her so rain isn't falling on her so she doesn't get chased by the creatures. And it's the word I forgot to mention in my description of this game is stealth, because you are invisible and you are trying to stealth for the most part around these creatures, so they don't fucking jump on you and kill them, kill you. But it took me 3 hours to finish. It's not a very long game, but I think that it is a great example of very unique concept.
Yeah.
Played to its presumed fullest. I can't really think of much else they can do with this idea and the mechanics that they put around it. But I had a very good time with it. It's not one of my favorite games, but again, Japan studio, Sony doing things like this, putting it out on the PSN. I really think this is a very special, unique game.
Yeah, I actually, this one really compels me. I love this concept. I think I will. This is a PS3 game.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I actually have something to say about this. I have not streamed anything through PS Plus, but I streamed a bunch of things through PS Now, and I didn't have any issues with it. I don't have an issue with game streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I have an issue only with the execution of game streaming sometimes in terms of latency, blah blah blah, which is usually an end user issue.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously I would prefer these games are downloadable, but I don't have an issue streaming a game like Rain. I am actually quite compelled to do this, and I think I probably will.
Yeah, no, very, very unique game. I would say not really necessary to play all the way through it. I found the end to be a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
There are mechanics that are introduced every once in a while, but it is a very slow game. So I think that playing like the first 3 chapters or something like that, I think you get the gist of it.
Yeah.
And very, very unique. I do recommend this game.
Cool.
Now, can I finish up my last PS Plus game?
Yeah, and then I'll give you my one game of the week. I'm very excited to talk about.
We're getting close, guys. All right, this is getting close to the finish line. The last game that I tried on PS Plus Premium this past week was one of the PS4's original highly acclaimed games, which is Resogun. No, I already played that. I already talked about that BLB.
Killzone Shadowfall?
No. Abram, sad thing is about me, I will eventually get to it.
I have Killzone Shadowfall.
So do I. And it's on PS Plus Premium.
The actual good game from that launch line.
Yes.
Good game.
Resogun is very interesting. I remember you telling me about it. I actually went back and rewatched our BLB episode where you talked about it. You telling me that, it didn't take you very long to complete. You were intrigued by some elements of it. You wanted to get into it because Housemarque had Returnal coming up at that time. And I had fun with this for what it is, an arcade horizontal shooter, and it's a game that doesn't really do its mechanics very well, other than move around and shoot left or right. But you have to save these humans, but the humans have different ways for you to actually make sure that they don't die. So I would constantly be like, it's like human detected. I'm like, oh, all right, gotta go find them, put them in the fucking teleporter, but then they would just die randomly. I'm like, huh? How did that happen? And I looked it up, and there's fucking different ways that the game does not explain to you at all. But I think it's a good game. It's one of those games that I know is not for me, and its structure of arcade gameplay, going for high scores, twitch reflexes, stuff like that. But I think it looks pretty good. I like the idea of a 2D shooter being put on a circle, so you can sort of see what's in the background and if things are coming at you and stuff. But it's a game I played for an hour. I am curious what mode you played on where you beat it, because I couldn't find a mode that, maybe I'm just stupid, but I couldn't find a mode where you're going through the stages and there's an end. Or do you remember it all?
I don't remember it all, but there definitely was a finite ending. Sure.
Okay. Well, I either couldn't get to that or couldn't find the mode. Unclear which mode that was, because there's single player arcade mode, choose your level. It was a fucking thing.
Here's my feeling of Resogun, right? Because Resogun is a much more of an Abram game than a Tucker game inherently, because you're not that interested in the sort of arcade design tenets that I am.
Yeah.
But I just found myself not interested by it. It wants me to score chase, and I just don't want to when I play Resogun, I suppose. Because I agree with you. I think it's a little. I don't think it's simple enough in some respects. Like the saving the human stuff. When I play, and we'll talk about it in a minute. So I'm not going to really dive into it. But when I play Ikaruga, it's fucking to the point. Boom. This is what I got to do. Switch the colors. Shoot the guy. That's the game, right?
Yeah.
And it's so short that I will play Ikaruga several times in a row when I play the game.
Yeah.
With the Resogun, I didn't really feel that. I also don't like voxel art style that much, so I was turned off a little bit by that. But nonetheless,
Sure.
I agree. I really like the concept of the game being wrapped around.
Yeah.
The what do you call that? An ellipse? I'm not sure. I don't fucking know.
Circle.
So like cool. But yeah, I don't know. Resogun is obviously a very polished and interesting game, but it didn't grab me. I think I would have been more taken by it on Vita because I know it came to Vita. I think that form factor would have tantalized me a little bit more. Maybe
sure. To pull out of your pocket, score chase a little bit, fuck around. Yeah.
That's part of the reason why Ikaruga is great. Like when I'm fly tomorrow, I'm going to be playing the game I'm going to talk about. But Ikaruga is so great to just I literally in the line to get onto the plane, you can play through half Ikaruga. So
yeah.
But so I don't know, Resogun, I like Returnal way more than Resogun.
I don't know if I do. I mean, I played like 3 hours of Returnal. That's more that I played with Resogun. But I think I understand Resogun a lot better than I do Returnal.
Sure.
Fucking whatever. Tangents.
I'm also talking out of my fucking cock and balls because I haven't played Resogun in like a year.
Yeah.
And I played it for like an hour and a half. I was like, this game. Can I talk about my one game now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
we've got 2 more, and one of the other ones shared.
Yay! I want to talk to you about Citizen Sleeper.
It's a sequel to Citizen Kane. It's the Overwatch 2 of Citizen Kane. They changed the map to nighttime.
Rosebud.
Yeah, so it sure came.
Citizen Sleeper is a super cool game. Now, here's the thing about it.
Let me go look up gameplay for this. I've never fucking seen this game.
Well, don't look it up yet. Actually, I want you to refrain. Don't fucking touch your keyboard, or I'll know. Pretend I'm fucking Anthony Hopkins talking to you. Pretend you're Jodie Foster. I'm Anthony Hopkins. I'm in jail. You're coming to me for information.
As usual.
I tell you, don't lie, or
I'm not imagining that.
Let me set the stage for a second. Citizen Sleeper is a game that I bought here. Little humor for you here. This actually is going to get into my psyche for a moment. Bought the game on Switch.
Yeah.
The game is on Xbox Game Pass. I have a really hard time justifying purchasing games that I have access to in other formats.
Of course. I think that's very natural.
Yeah. Even though I know the experience is going to be markedly better. Like, I really want to play when I come back from Florida, the game I want to play most is Pikmin 3. Or sorry, Pikmin 2. Misspoke. Yeah. I have Pikmin 2 on GameCube. I would like it so much more on Wii with Wiimote pointer. And I'm on the fence about spending $20 on a game I already own,
Yeah.
But the reason I did it with Citizen Sleeper and it felt more essential is because Citizen Sleeper is like a visual novel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a resource management visual novel with tabletop role-playing game elements.
That's like 4 different, really disparate things.
And we'll talk about it.
Jesus Christ.
But my options, Tucker, because I don't have very good eyesight, right?
No.
I wear these fucking rigs. So I have 3100 vision, which is not good at all. But even with these on,
better number.
No, that's actually not true at all when it comes to eyesight. Like my choices were this: either I literally, like a fucking middle-aged father watching television, stand 18 inches away from the television and play with the Xbox controller right there, or I buy it on Switch. So I bought it on
Switch. So you can hold your Switch like this.
I actually do hold my Switch very close when I play Citizen Sleeper.
And why is this?
Because the game's all about reading. It's full of reading.
Sure.
And for me to do this comfortably, I need to have it in my hands. It needs to be right here as though it's a book.
Understandable.
And what's interesting about this game is I don't like games like this typically.
No.
Great Ace Attorney Chronicles got me closer. But even though I was like, I'm just fucking reading. I just read a novel. I don't even like reading novels, but I'd rather read a novel than read this.
Yeah.
What Citizen Sleeper is a combination of a couple things. Cool and short. Which I think apparently Citizen Sleeper is like a
so they called you in high school.
They didn't call me cool. Basically the premise of this game is it is something that I like a lot, which is cyberpunk told differently. Basically, you play somebody who's a sleeper who sold your physical body to a corporation. It's unclear as of this point in the narrative what they used your body for, but you sold your body. Your conscious
shit,
probably your consciousness was removed, and you have. Again, I'm unraveling things still, so I don't know exactly the nature of it yet. But you have put your consciousness basically into a robot body that they give you. But to keep your body alive, you need stimulants that only they sell, right?
Hmm.
So you flee, you end up in this place called the Eye. And what the game is about is you and your transplanted mind in this dying robot's body, just trying to survive,
Mhm.
trying to make enough money to get these suppressants to keep your body functioning so it won't reject your brain, trying to scrape out a life for yourself and establish yourself beyond S&ARP, which is the corporation you sold your body to, in this place called the Eye. And the way you do this is by basically playing a tabletop role-playing game, which I find really compelling. The structure of the game is this. Every day you wake up, it's cyclical. It's on a day-night cycle. You can end you can end the you can
My life operates on a day-night cycle.
you can end a day whenever you want. But in that day, you can do as many options as you have dice for.
Sure.
Basically, depending on how stable your body is that day, you have up to 5 dice. And you can use those dice to go to work, try to learn more about the areas around you, try to engage in various things in the environment, and it's all die based. It's calculated based off your stats, based off these dice. And so the strategy of the game is to figure out how to optimize your dice and chase down one of or multiple of these many leads around you. Establishing relationships with characters, trying to make enough money to earn the stimulant for yourself, maybe trying to find ways to steal that stimulant or get it from another place.
Sure, yeah.
It's about making relationships. It's about prioritizing your time and knowing that you're constantly on the clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the game is basically presented via nodes. You don't walk around. You're not directly controlling your sleeper. You're basically clicking on various nodes in the environment. It pops up, input your dice, have a conversation, choose dialogue options, and that's the game. And I don't really usually like that. I usually like hands-on engaged gameplay. This is the antithesis of it.
Yes.
But a couple things about it really work for me. Number one, I love the aesthetic. And not only is it cyberpunk, but it's so beautifully and interestingly drawn. I love the character portraits. I think those are fantastic. And I love the music. I think it's brilliantly composed and really well written. I'm engrossed by the narrative, but I'm engrossed by the ways that I feel like I can't experience all of it. I have to make really deliberate choices about what am I going to prioritize here? Do I want to, because right now my favorite quest line is there's this guy who makes me food and I need the food to survive because you've got to, as you do too. And I am traveling out beyond the reaches of the Eye for him to try to cultivate mushrooms so he can make a new recipe. And I love that. I think it's so interesting. This gruff old cook in the market who hears all these ridiculous stories from wayward travelers like me, but he just loves his cooking and food unites people. So he wants me to go out and find these synthetic vegetables for him. But when I do that, Tucker, I'm not really earning money. So I need to go, because my character is an engineer. I need to go to the scrapyard.
Did you choose that?
I chose that, yeah.
Okay.
I need to go to the scrapyard and use my engineer skills to earn some money so I can pay for food and so I can pay for the stimulant to keep me alive. But when I'm working at this dock here, I can kind of take some of the scrap for myself and repair myself because I'm an engineer, right? So it's all about balancing your resources, balancing your relationships, and choosing your path through the world. And everything's operating on timer. So you're missing events, you're juggling things. It's a very, very dynamic game. And I love the idea that in 5 or 6 hours, I'm going to have my Citizen Sleeper adventure and it's going to be so different than other people's. And I could play it again, prioritize different things, and have a completely different narrative.
Sure.
I think this game is super, super clever. And I love its aesthetic. And I love how it's cyberpunk that actually retains the progressive ideas of cyberpunk instead of the aesthetics of it. Because Cyberpunk 2077, I love the game, but it has zero interest in the thematic elements that make cyberpunk a politically subversive genre. But Citizen Sleeper is all about that. So I think this game is just super, I hate this. This is going to sound really fucking dumb, but intellectual. And I find that to be really interesting.
That's fair.
So I'm really loving this game. And it's something that it's not a genre I play. It's a convergence of ideas I don't often see together.
Yeah.
So I just find myself super, super compelled by it.
That convergence is what is making me interested. I mean, I guess also maybe what might be turning me away a little bit, because you're right in terms of I'm in the same boat as you. I play a few more visual novels than you. But tabletop role-playing games, rolling dice, moving around the nodes, like none of that on face value really appeals to me. But also, as we've mentioned today, I like trying things I don't like. So I'm certainly willing to give this game a try. I think it does
Yeah.
sound very unique. I love the idea of taking disparate elements and mashing them together. And if they gel, then that's great. That's ostensibly a new genre. I think that's very clever. I do.
And you can play it on Game Pass. You have a bigger TV than I do. You have better eyesight than I do, and you can just put your fucking chair right in front of the TV, and it'll be fine. I will note though is I think we might be overselling a little bit how new like bringing like narrative decisions into a tabletop role playing game are.
Sure,
But
never seen those before.
It's the sort of thing where like I don't play Divinity. I don't play any of these fucking like.
Oh Christ, yeah.
I don't play
There's
any
a lot
of
of
these.
PC games that
Yeah.
do that, I guess.
I don't play any of these games, so for me, it is a very new experience. Whether it's an experience I'm going to want to carry forth, I don't know, but it's an experience I want to finish in this context.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm really impressed by this game, and I'm quite excited to finish it tomorrow.
One other thing I want to say,
Yeah.
and this brings it back to a ye old episode of BLB, like a fucking year ago.
Yeah.
Is I really think you should give Fred Strings Club a try. I think it's very similar in terms of you choosing a narrative path and missing other things and taking Cyberpunk in a very unique direction and focusing on a very unique gameplay format.
Yeah.
Also much shorter.
Sure, I'll give it a shot.
2.5 3 hours.
I will also say this game is perfect for me traveling tomorrow because I'm a very paranoid traveler. So I need a game that can engross me, but at a moment's notice I can put it down and assess my situation. Is the flight still coming? Am I in the right place?
Probably not.
So Citizen Sleeper, perfect travel game for me, perfect scope. I think I should have it beaten tomorrow. Very cool.
Wow.
Okay. 2 games left, right?
Yeah, we got 2 more. And you know what? Second to last, you know what that means? It's fucking Ikaruga time.
Yes!
Ikaruga is a game that you've talked about a couple times here on BLB, I believe. A vertical shmup based around the idea of switching your polarity so that you can do more damage to enemies of the other color. This game has a theme of race wars, I might assume.
I'll not say that.
And if you are the same color as a bullet that's coming at you, you absorb it and it can be used as fucking power. The shmup genre is one that I have like 2.5% knowledge with. Like
me too.
I'm aware of these games. I've dabbled in a few of them. I've played my fair share of Galaxian and Galaga at fucking arcades.
Right.
I played Donkey Kong 3. You know what I'm saying? I like saying the game's a shmup, but it kind of isn't. But Ikaruga, I was interested to try because you've been singing the praise of this game very vehemently for the past year, since I believe you gave it a try last summer. And I think this game is very interesting. But I hate it. I really do not like this game.
Yeah.
It is just too much for me. It's just too much for me. It is much less for me in terms of fucking killing my brain. Now that I'm aware that there is an option for unlimited continues, which is like the menus are not very easy to fucking find. Like I had a problem with that, but I turned on unlimited continues. I finished the game. There are 5 stages. I beat all 5 stages, but I beat them by cheesing the piss out of it because your character dies if you scrape the toe of your ship against anything in this screen. And guess what? There are approximately 3,000 things on screen at any given point.
Yes.
And because of that, I think this is very similar to what you said with F1. And when you said that, I'm like, doink, I should say this when I talk about Ikaruga. It's a game that I think is very interesting. I would love to be good at this in a fucking alternate dimension. But I don't think this game gives me enough appeal on a very subjective level, on a gameplay level, to want to get better at it. Yes, it's short, but I think the fact that you are just taking damage left and right, if you aren't very good at it, it is very repetitive in terms of, obviously, it's mostly about memorization. It's about memorizing these patterns and knowing how big your fucking hitbox is, so you know which things you can swerve through. And that kind of like rote repetition and in my opinion monotony because of that really isn't very appealing. And how just ungodly difficult and crazy this game is. It's throwing so much shit at you. To me, it feels unfair. I know that challenge is where the appeal of this game comes in, but it is so far removed from the appeal of why I play video games, frankly.
Yeah, Ikaruga is widely considered to be one of, if not the hardest shmups ever made.
Jesus Christ.
That's its reputation.
And this is what you started with.
Yeah. Because I think paradoxically, because of those infinite continues, it is also incredibly easy to just fuck around in and see if it's an interesting format to you.
Sure.
The thing about Ikaruga is it is about two things. It is about memorization for sure, but it's also about learning how to push that combo system and learning
which
about
is nothing something I just could not figure out.
Yeah, it took me multiple runs before I even said. And let's keep in mind here, I can't beat this game unless I have an infinite continues on. I can get further and further.
Yeah,
I could probably be the first couple stages and be fine, but then I couldn't beat the full fucking game by any stretch of imagination. But the fun about Ikaru is not only memorizing things, but learning, okay, how far can I push being on this one color to build up energy to then unleash it and then flip my color immediately to build up more. It's about always being a fucking hair's width away from danger. And if you like that, there is a really satisfying difficulty curve, or I should say like a progression curve to getting a little bit better every time and learning these bosses. Because as soon as the bosses click, some of them are so fucking easy. Like when you play the game once, it's impossible. Donkey, nobody's explained Ikaruga better than Donkey. He said, I thought I was gonna run out of infinite continues. But every time you play, you start to realize a little bit more that these bosses are actually super fucking simple, but they're so daunting until it's like a switch flips. And if you don't want to play till the switch flips, well, there's a reason that nobody knows who Treasure is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Ikaruga is as niche and hardcore as one of these games could possibly fucking be. It just so happens that my love of Treasure's aesthetics in Sin and Punishment, and I think the accessibility of that infinite continue mode and just the satisfaction of climbing that mountain is fun to me.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's anybody who tries to gatekeep you and say, like, oh, you're not like, you don't like Ikaruga is fucking dumb. Because at least they know what Ikaruga is. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Yeah.
So I think you make a compelling point.
Well, a compelling point on an incredibly subjective
Right.
level. Like, I totally recognize that, like, this game is well made and well designed. And I think for me, the thing that knocked steps above my dislike for the gameplay format and the difficulty curve and all that stuff is the scope and craziness of like the backgrounds and things are falling around you and you're flying through this giant fucking tube, and like I did really like the spectacle of that.
Yes.
One thing, so I love doing this. I love playing a game and going back and listening to the BLB episode where you talked to me about the game, because I went back and listened to the time that you talked to me about Ikaruga. And one thing you mentioned is that it's got a horseshit treasure story. Yeah. And I just can't. I don't know what you mean. Do you mean like the poem at the beginning of each chapter? Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? Where's the story? It's all just fucking ships in the sky.
That's what I mean. And that's what and this is, it sounds stupid, but it's interesting to try to read a little bit more of that fucking poem before the game loads every time. Sure. And the
game loads very fast on Switch, so difficult to read those poems.
I have to imagine that probably on Dreamcast and then on GameCube, you could just read the poem.
Of course.
but to me, the story of a treasure game, because Sin and Punishment also has a ridiculous storyline. It doesn't make any sense. You can't.
But it is more foregrounded.
Right. But you can't
I expected it to be more foregrounded in Ikaruga.
You can't tell me that Sin and Punishment has a coherent storyline. People try to. You can't do that. It's impossible. But it's also about the spectacles of the boss design. It's about this world. And
absolutely.
It's like you're like a god killer or something. It's unclear because the game loads so fast. I can't read the poetry. But to me, story, sometimes I probably use story too loosely. Sure. When I think about story in games, I think about story. I always think about Breath of the Wild as one of the best video game stories because it's not about defeating Ganon. It's about running into Oberlin Village. So sometimes
that's one of your classic lines.
Yeah. So sometimes
in 10 years when they're doing the BLB retrospective documentary, you're gonna be saying that like 3 times.
For sure. So sometimes for me, story is meeting this weird fucking guy whose shield has like a big face on it.
Oh, it's like the first boss.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Yeah. But I'm glad I have it under my belt. Yeah. Shmups are a genre that I like picking at. I like dabbling in 1 or 2 a year and just being like, yeah, I understand. And I played Resogun and Ikaruga this week, so I'm off to the races.
The next one I want to play is Zero Ranger, and I might actually.
I want to play Radiant Silvergun and Thunder Force 4.
I mean, Radiant Silvergun is the obvious one for me to play.
Yeah.
But I can't play it right now, and you're kind of putting me in a shmup mood, and which will probably manifest when just playing Ikaruga tomorrow. But I have Zero Ranger.
The one
laptop.
other thing that I was trying to remember, you talked about a shmup like a year and a half.
Gradius.
Gradius. Okay, thank you. That's what it was. Fucking answer solved. Where did you play that? It's
That's on
NES
Switch Online.
Okay, yeah.
Also,
Okay.
the Ikaruga soundtrack is fucking crazy. Let me say that.
I don't fucking remember. It probably does, I guess. No idea.
Let's talk about a game of which we have common ground, Tucker, to end the episode.
Finally. Holy. No, actually, it's not the first time this episode because we talk about Shweta Revenge, but shit. All right, Point B. It's fucking Point B time, ladies and gentlemen.
Point P is perfect.
God damn it.
I have nothing else to say about Point P. That's a segment in the show.
Oh well, I'm not. Mm-mm.
Okay,
I veto that.
Okay, here's what I have to say about Point P. Point P really, really, really surprised me in not its quality, because the developer Ojiro is a fantastic developer.
Fumoto?
Yes, fantastic developer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make Downwell and then have people wonder, I wonder if my next game is going to be any good, right? That doesn't make any sense. I knew when I started playing Point P that it was going to be good. We talked about it last week. I played very briefly. The game I would immediately recognize, like, yeah, this guy's this guy gets the vertical platformer. He gets arcade tenets. This game's great.
Yeah.
But what I didn't expect, Tucker, is that the game would fucking hook me like this. Yeah. I wouldn't fucking let go until I beat it.
Yep.
Because you said to me, when I first introduced you to Point P, you said you played for like fucking 4 hours in one day.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck what does he mean he played for 4 hours in one day? And then I got back from seeing, well, here's what happened. I had about 15 minutes until I was supposed to leave to go see Lightyear. Jean was finishing, she was watching a show. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do for the next 15 minutes? Oh, I'll just play a couple rounds of Point P. And it's just like a fucking little spark. Like click, 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 little spark, right?
Yep.
We go to see Lightyear. We come back. Immediately I started playing Point P. Not only because Lightyear is forgettable, but because I want to play Point P.
Sure. Okay. Well.
No, but on a serious note, I was like, damn, I got to play Point P. And then for the next 3 hours and 15 minutes, according to my phone's activity clock, whatever it is.
That's how I knew the exact amount I played as well.
Yeah, I was playing Point P. And I wake up the next morning. And I think to myself, I have to be a Point P.
Yeah.
And then I sat in the dark in just my underwear for another like hour. I didn't check my play clock that time because I just played till I beat the game. And I beat the fucking game.
Yeah.
Because Point P has one of the most fucking laser precise and satisfying combo systems of any game I've ever experienced.
I'm swooning and you're just mentioning it.
Point P, it's like, I talk about Sonic being like jazz and about improv, right? But this game is fucking jazz because
absolutely
you are by the seat of your fucking pants scooting from jump to jump as you're trying to just keep that goddamn combo alive.
Yes.
And the satisfaction of pushing the combo further, the defeat of losing it, the empowerment of gaining a rank to get a new jump orb or a new equipment slot, and doing it again, but having that combo go higher until all of a sudden you're hitting gourmet rank 15 literally in one combo.
Yes.
And then you're beating the game 15 minutes later. The exponential increase in power and the exponential fall off in difficulty is so perfect to where you just feel like a fucking badass all the time you're playing. And then the game ends at just the right moment. Yeah. This game is perfect.
I think that what makes this game so surprising to me is it is high score chasing. It's an arcade based game. You're like for most of the time that you're playing this game, you're just trying to get a little bit farther, do a little bit better, get a little more gourmet, fucking continue your combo a little bit longer. But I think what makes this game so perfect for my sensibility is not only do I think it's very accessible and perfect for mobile in terms of the haptics of your phone fucking buzzing when you're bouncing off walls and stuff and bouncing on enemies, and not only is it very satisfying to be on that knife's edge as you said, but I think there's a perfect balance between wanting to get better at knowing, okay, this is how high I jump, this is how I can avoid collecting a fruit that is telling me not to, stuff like that. But also there is progression. And if you are not great at the game, if there, it gives you a little bit of a hand to say, hey, look, you did play this game, you get a little bit of experience, and you're like, man, if I play just like a couple of times, a little bit better, boom, I can get another equipment slot, I can get a couple more golden seeds, I can get another jump orb, and next time I play, even if I'm not great, I'll be able to squeeze just a little bit farther out of this. I'll be able to combine a couple more equipment slot attributes, and that'll be real. I can't wait to see how these play off each other, change my play style, stuff like that. So the reason I found Point B so addicting is because I was always feeling like I could get to the end of it. It's like, even at the beginning, when I was like getting to like gourmet level 3, I'm like, whew, that was tough. And boy, did I not know what the combo system would fucking unlock me.
Right.
But I always felt like if I just had not touched that guy and lost my combo, I would have been so close. And I was on that loop until I inevitably beat the game. And when you sent me a message, you sent the screenshot, like, I beat Point B. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know there was an ending at that point. You reach gourmet level 20, you do the final stage, and there is an ending cutscene and all sorts of stuff, which is great. I like that there is an end to this arcade high score game. I think that was a big positive in my mind.
I agree.
I sat down. Tanner was on the couch next to me playing Last of Us 2. He started Last of Us 2. Who knows if he'll come on BLB and talk.
He needs to.
By the way, on the 2-year anniversary of that game, that was yesterday. Cool. And I was sitting next to him playing Point B, just trying to beat the game. And I think maybe you're better at the game than me, because I've played this game for a lot longer than a total of 5 hours, or whatever it took for you to beat it. And for the next like hour and a half, I was getting to gourmet level 19. Oh, fuck, I lose my thing. I get to gourmet level 20. I bounce on the button 5 times. Blah, blah, blah. I go up into the space level. Oh, I just lose it. And I got to the point where I was consistently getting gourmet level 20. I was going to the thing, and I could feel my skill getting better as I noticed, oh, I'm getting so much closer. And the time that it finally took me to beat it, my fucking paint was sweating playing this game. I'm like, I'm one heart. If I hit anything, there's so many fruits it doesn't want me to get at this, or I guess like star bits or whatever the hell on that point. And I squeezed out of it, and I didn't even notice when I slammed on the ground for the final thing. Like, I did it.
Yeah,
I'm done. And like, because I was so zeroed in to making sure I got everything right, and it was honestly a euphoric moment. Like, whew. But I was so satisfied to finally reach that climax.
So I didn't find it that hard, but I found it very satisfying, because I think I beat the final area on my 3rd time through there. But because I think this game is really good about managing its difficulty and allowing you to modify it when you need to.
Sure.
And in those higher ranks, it came down to me figuring out tactically what equipment I need to get the job done. Because I quickly realized mechanically, I've got this down, right? But something is missing, and it's my loadout. And that's where I think all of the systems really came together for me in those final moments. Because I was kind of loosey-goosey, just putting power-ups in, accruing jump orbs, and like, okay, whatever. But when I zeroed in on the fact that, okay, this game has a finite end, and I'm not finding it that hard, but I'm not finding that my skills are taking me to that very end. Sure. I gotta be a little tactical here.
Yeah.
And I figure, okay, what do I have here? I got all these seeds. Let's fucking get some more power-ups. What do I need to take my current skill level? Easily there. So there's not a fucking moat between my and my taint as there was in yours. And there was something really satisfying about that for me, of realizing, okay, it's time to really dive into this sort of this subsystem of the game.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of customizability to be had there. And I'm curious what you ended with, because when I shared what I beat the game with, you said yours is remarkably different. Because basically
different. Yeah.
What I had was a couple of safety things. If I die and I have a full juice meter, I come back to life with 1 heart, which, by the way, I needed in my final run. That's why that's how I won. But I principally had moves that sucked in fruit close to me, to the point where I was hitting 20, 30, sometimes even 40 extra fruits per
bonus fruits,
per combo, and I was getting to the galactic part after maybe 3 food things.
3 combos.
And so that's when it kind of unlocked in my mind, like, it's not necessarily that I need to get better at the game. It's that I needed to engage with this other part of it better. And when I did, it gave me an even deeper appreciation for it. But what did you end with?
Well, here's the thing. I switched up. I tried what you suggested, or like what you said you beat your game with after you sent that. Because what I was running before that was focusing on getting as many extra fruits as possible. I had when you stomp on an enemy, it gives you much counts as a fruit. I had sometimes fruits can spawn as double fruits.
Oh, that's the other one.
Every fruit carrier carries 2 fruits.
Yeah.
Everything pots have fruits in them. I was trying just every possible way I could squeeze an extra fruit into my combo. That's what my loadout was initially going for.
Sure.
The one thing that I had not really considered was that revive thing, which by the way can be comboed with the when you get hit, it fills up your
oh, that's clever.
What's it called? The recipe.
That's clever.
It fills up the recipe. So when you get hit on your last life, it automatically finishes the recipe. You land, boom, you're revived. So those two together saved my ass numerous times in the last game or last leg of my game. But then I was using a combination of the ones where you sucked in, which by the way I thought was helpful. But that range of how big it's sucking in fruits is not that big. It's a little bit bigger than you having to hit it. But I think that for me, comboing the revives with just fruits being everywhere and every action I was doing, building up my meter, allowed me to push to the end. But I do like the fact that there is a lot of flexibility, and if you want to have your round focus on getting you some more golden seeds, so you can put on the golden seeds in the pot thing, so you can get some golden seeds to get a new upgrade. Like there is a really nice way to tailor it to what you want this run to be, because it's very easy to just boop, swap them in, swap them out, start a new run.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually making me want to go and try to, because I've never beaten Downwell.
Neither have I.
I think Downwell is a much harder game than Point P.
Sure.
Much harder game. But I'm curious to jump in. I'm curious to jump down instead of jump up as in Point P. But no, I think it just points to how considered and great this core formula is, to where there's so many different approaches to how you end up beating it, right?
Yeah.
The Point P is just such a simple idea that's executed so perfectly.
Absolutely.
And I love that presentation. I think the presentation is great. And I think it does a nice job of varying that presentation with the different themes that bring subtle changes in the different level gimmicks.
Yes, absolutely.
But that never distracts from that core formula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Having cannons, having the bubbles, having the vines, like these things, when you get to world, you're like, oh, all right, I know I can use the bubble to go up here. I can jump off. The enemies are slightly different in each world. I definitely love that kind of variety, especially as it mixes it in. It's not that you're going from Vine World to Mine World to Cannon World. You will start on a random one each time as you are unlocking them, and that gets you the different fruits. It gets you mixing things together. Like the game feels very cohesive in that way. And also, I think from a presentation standpoint, phenomenal soundtrack by the guy who did soundtracks for other games I've played, including Pikuniku, which has a great soundtrack, and Lovely Planet, which is a game that I played on Steam years ago, but I thought also had a great soundtrack. I think everyone involved with this game should be incredibly proud of what they've done. And I really do wish that the game becomes more accessible, because I think that this game could be big. It could be, I think it should be on the level of Downwell in terms of popularity, but people just don't know about it. They really don't. Every day I'm looking up #PointB on Twitter, a couple new tweets, one new piece of fan art. No one's really talking about it.
I think having it behind the Netflix paywall, which is ostensibly not hard to access the game, as we're saying. Yeah, it's very simple when you open the Netflix app on your phone. It just goes right to games, right to Point P, right to download. But I think it's an extra barrier between the player, the royal sense of the player, just the players and the game.
The Queen playing Point B,
right? And I would love to have the game on.
The Queen has an Netflix account.
Probably. I would.
Does the Queen have a credit card?
I don't think the Queen can just like throw a doubloon at whatever she wants, right?
That's a great point.
Does the Queen even have to pay for things? I don't fucking know. I don't care.
I'll have to ask her. I'll call
she
her.
Probably does.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show. But I would like to see this game on console.
Yeah.
Because I made a tweet humorously, but it rings true to an extent of like, the Point P is so good. The best compliment I can give it is that I want to play it on my phone.
Yeah.
Because to me, it is perfectly tailored to mobile, as you're saying.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I felt like my finger was getting in the way sometimes. I felt like I didn't quite have the precision I wanted to. And I think a control scheme as simple as pull back an analog stick, release an analog stick,
Sure,
jump maybe on a shoulder or slam on the shoulder button.
Yeah.
The only issue there is the screen real estate, but that's an issue circumvented by Ikaruga since it's circumvented by Downwell itself, right? And I think that is probably what the game will need to get to the level of consideration that it deserves, because I genuinely do believe that this is one of the best games of the year.
Yeah. It's interesting because I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would prefer it on another platform.
Sure.
I think that for me, it works best as a mobile game. And as a mobile game, I think it's tailored for this platform very, very obviously.
It definitely is.
But I would want it, even if I'm not going to play it on console, because more people would be able to play it. It was significantly more accessible, and this game could reach the acclaim that it deserves. But even if it did, I don't think I would stray from playing it.
Yeah,
if I even go back to it, that's the real thing. Like I've finished it, and my monkey brain says finish the game, never touched it. But it's a game that I enjoy enough that maybe popping into it, and though there just isn't really any progression left now that I've beaten the game and I've gotten to max level, which is maybe the only criticism I have, but also I got like 10 hours of gameplay out of this game in a week. So like, I can't complain.
I think that's actually interesting because I was operating initially under the impression that it was just about high scores, but it's not. It's finite. The game score basically only translates to experience for your rank. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think there's a leaderboard in this game.
I don't know. I never checked.
Which to me would seem like a simple way to keep people playing, because you just loop those stages and you just clear stages till you lose. And I think something that would be compelling, but also I'm not sure that this gameplay format is tailored for that, because at a certain point, when do you lose? Because like, I don't know, unless it started getting really fucking fast. Obviously there's ways to circumvent that, but I think the game is designed for what the game is. For me, I have the wonderful position of not doing those puzzle levels yet. So that's what I'm going to go back to.
Sure, yeah.
Point P, I have it right now as my second favorite game of the year.
Yeah.
Frankly, if it doesn't stay there, it'll certainly be in the top 5 by the time 2022 wraps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm happy to be singing the praises of this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Point B Defense Squad, unite. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this episode of BLB. I think one of our best episodes yet. I think it was a phenomenal episode. Goodbye.
Yeah, great episode.
Everyone involved.
I'm fucking hungry. It's been a long and
go eat, go refuel. We'll be back.
Go eat, go refuel, go to the dentist. That's my life motto. At least for the next 3 hours. Go.
Even though you've been taking very good care of your teeth, I don't know what stops cavities, to be honest.
I don't either.
If it starts forming, absolutely zero clue. If there is a way to stop it.
I don't fucking know. Thanks for find out.
Cavity banter.
Back. What's a B word that has to do with tooth?
Bite.
I was gonna say booth.
That has something to do with tooth, yeah. In fact, most of the word has to do with tooth. God.